Hello, guys. How you doing? I hope you've been having a great weekend. Thank you for tuning into my show. I really appreciate having you guys here. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is Fed. The Fed. Oh my gosh. They are actually, if they were poker players, they'd be pretty good poker players. They're doing a head fake right now. Let's start the charts right here and take a look. It says, here's why the Fed gives markets a green light. Further rate hikes unlikely. All because he used a certain word. And that word was, Powell used the word patient. Right? He didn't tell him anything else. It's just patient. And they've come to the conclusion now that there's, because they say precedent. Precedent suggests that no interest rate hikes until 2020 or later. He never said that. He never said that there's not going to be any more rate hikes. He just said patient. They're going back to precedent here from Janet Yellen. It said in 2015, Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen warned the Federal Reserve may remove prior patient promise from December 2014. At that time, removing said promise in March meant rate hikes weren't likely until June of that year. In the end, the Federal Reserve didn't start hiking interest rates until December. So that was the precedent they believe was set by Chair Janet Yellen when she used the word patient. But this is a whole new can of worms, a whole new thing. And the markets are responding to this. What this is setting up, this is setting up for a sucker rally, a real honest-to-God sucker rally. If the president goes out right now and he makes a deal with China and ends the trade war, on top of this news where they think there's going to be no more rate hikes, they think that the Fed now has their back. What we're setting up for is an absolute sucker rally. And if they get really enthusiastic, heck, they could make a new top in the market, a third top. We've had two tops already. The market started to roll over. The Fed's got scared. Everybody's got scared. And they've all come out now, and they've in their fear, and they're trying to settle things. And he's used the word patient. Man, it shows you how much power the Fed has, doesn't it? Okay? This is not over. It's not over by a long shot. That fear people had a few days ago, it was justified. There's no liquidity underneath the market. The Fed has this quantitative tightening program going on. Now, the quantitative tightening was like a free give-out, a free handout by the Fed, but they put $4.5 trillion on their balance book that now they're removing from their balance book by pulling $50 billion a month out, liquidity out of the system. They're basically paying themselves back. That was the money that supported the markets and buoyed the markets in the first place. What do you think's going to happen when they drain that money back out? It's just the same thing as if you had a beggar on the street corner, and he didn't have a scratch of money, and you walked up and you handed him a $100 bill. Now he's got money. But if you walked right back up to him and said, give me that back, well, he wouldn't have any money again. He'd go right back to where he started again. Well, that's the way with this. The Fed's now withdrawing this liquidity out through the back door, and they're thinking that they're sneaking along and they're getting away with it, right? And as far as the interest rate hikes things goes, let's take a look at the chart a little bit more here. And what we see here is one time in my life, I think I happen to agree with Kramer. Kramer says right here, he says, let me see if I can highlight it in blue. Okay, I can't highlight it. It says, Kramer says, the Fed will not stop rate hikes until there are firings and layoffs. In other words, until we've went into a depression. They're going to continue with these rate hikes because as long as they got these fudged job numbers, and I say fudged because these numbers have been manipulated. Okay? As long as they've got these manipulated jobs numbers, and as long as they can keep the people passive, As long as they can keep no signs of yellow in the country. That's kind of a reference to what's going on over in Europe right now. As long as they can keep that away, and keep the wolf away from the door, and keep Americans pacified with the new cell phones, or new cell phone eyeglasses, or whatever they can keep the Americans pacified with, and as long as they can keep this game going, they're going to keep pulling that $50 billion a month of liquidity out of the system until the system collapses. That's basically the size of where we're at with this. And you watch them try to sneak a couple rate hikes in this next year. You know what the response of the markets is going to be the first time they come out and they announce that they're doing a rate hike? Surprise, surprise. Okay? Because the market's going up right now in order to crash. That's basically what we're looking at. That's what I think we're looking at. I think this is going to be a suckers rally of all suckers rallies, leading up to a crash. And maybe the Fed wants this crash so that they can bail out all their banker buddies again. They really made their banker buddies really rich last time around. Let's face it. And all they need in order to bail out their banker buddies is a good excuse. And what better excuse than an economic crisis? Let's never forget that the Federal Reserve is a privately owned institution, and it's owned by these big banks. So, don't have them kid us. They're a bunch of crooks, and swindlers. They have committed crimes, and they never go to jail, these bankers. Too big to fail and too big to jail. They're basically above the law, because they own the law. They are the law. They own the country. The country is very slowly, meticulously changing from a country that's a republic into a corporation. Donald Trump, he come in there, he wanted to clean this mess up. But how can you clean the mess up when they're all involved in it? They're all a bunch of crooks and scoundrels. He's doing his best, but it's just, the corruption is everywhere. Anyway, it's turning into a rant, but the thing about it is that I happen to agree with Kramer here. The Fed's not going to stop the rate hikes. They're faking the market. It says traders keep bets on no U.S. federal rate hikes in 2019. So they're basing this whole rally in the market on their belief, because Powell said one word, patient. They're basing their whole hope on that they believe that there's not going to be any more rate hikes in 2019. Keep on dreaming, guys. Keep on dreaming. The Fed hasn't even told them that they're going to pause on the rate hikes. It says investors are betting that the Fed hits the pause button on rate hikes. I don't think so. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next show. Bye-bye, guys.